Welcome to the stage, everybody. Joyous, Windrider, Jimenez, who I wanted to. Hello!
Hi.
It's
It's
good to see you.
good to see you.
What's
It's
in your.
it's so nice in this room.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's peace in this house. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's I just it feels really good. I love the music and I love your voice. I've always loved your voice.
Thank you, my love. I've always loved your voice. I've always loved your energy. I've always loved your care. I've always loved your compassion and your view towards compassion. And you've been posting a lot like myself uh, in the social spaces about what you see. And while I see is the Friday mantra in our shared network, uh, today is actually I Speak Day. Thursdays are throat chakra days.
Perfect. So perfect.
But while
So
we're not quite to what we see, we have seen some things. And now life is calling us to say some things.
this
So, what do you see and what do you say? Is how we'll start.
yeah. Well, whew. I think it's very easy uh to try not to see. And I think it's a choice to open our eyes and to really take a look within and around, to look above and below and to look beside us. Um, Sometimes it's so overwhelming that the temptation to want to look down and look away is it's just so strong. And so I try really hard to remember that wherever I am in this journey of seeing, right? In this journey of being willing to be woken up and to have my eyes opened to recognize the compassion that's needed for us to do this. Self-compassion for all of the sleeping hours, for all of the times that we did look away, and to remember that others are scared. There's a lot of fear. I see a structure that's around us that wants us to keep looking away and keep looking down, that wants us to keep thinking that the only focuses that we can foci that we can have
We better focus, or we're gonna be fucked. We better find our foci,
oh my
girl.
gosh,
Yes.
it's so distracting in this, like, this matrix, right? It's so distracting. It feels like, you're in that crazy driving test where you're just coming in at all sides, and it's like, where do you want to go? And so for me, I think I had a nice big awakening moment. Um, I've had many of them, but then came the one that was like just really just horrific. But it was the one that was calling me back into myself, and that was after October 7th. In fact, after October 7th, I probably spent about 6 weeks being frozen and listening to other people or watching other people talk about it, but really just kind of being frozen. And I feel like a lot of us are still in that state, because that's what Empire wants to do, is to keep us frozen, to think that we don't have any power, to think that we're helpless. And so there finally came a day, and I have gratitude for my friends who were talking about it and were posting and were calling people in to finally say, okay, I go ahead and be a witness too. And that's when I started to be a witness. And so that was about 6 weeks in. And, you know, um, all of the walls that I had around grieving, especially, because like I said, I was in frozen state, started to like be obliterated and just be destroyed as the walls and the buildings and the bodies in Palestine were being destroyed. There was no choice but to confront like that deep, obliterating grief um, that was being felt by those who are watching, and those, of course, who are in it, losing their loved ones and their homes and their livelihoods. Um, and it really also had me go on a long questioning of like how what is business as usual, and is that what I want to be doing? Is this working? You know, why is this happening? Why is it not stopping? Why does it seem that so many people do care and are out there mobilized and protesting and doing everything they can, and still like we're still here? And you know, to begin to recognize this bigger thing in play, to really like have this blinder taken off of how insidious capitalism and colonialism is, how deep it goes, how far it goes, how wide it is. Just really like getting into the understanding of where I live in the belly of the beast and what that means. And you know, thank goodness, I do have an instinct. It was the same instinct I had when COVID hit and everything shut down. The first thing I thought, and I'm an introvert, so I like to spend time alone, but I was like, I need faces. I got to see faces. We got it. So I started setting things up so I had connection. And it was the same thing when this started. I realized like, I can't do this alone. And a lot of people who are being witnesses and who are protesting often do feel alone. Um, they don't have people around them to share in their grief, to share in their anger and their um, experiences. And so there's different types of grief, and one type of grief is called disenfranchised grief. And disenfranchised grief is the experience of the Black body. It's the experience of the mother who never became a mother because she lost her child through miscarriage. It's the person who's incarcerated or has loved ones incarcerated, the ones who have no one to validate and acknowledge their grief. And so they're sitting with this alone. And this is what I came to understand, is that there's so many people that are experiencing this, who live, you know, and are experiencing colonization. And so thank goodness, and I can stop and slow down at any point, because I don't mean to go on a long monologue. But you know, I started to look for people, and I one of the first things I found was a grief cafe that was put on by a death doula online. And so every so often she would say, I'm hosting a grief cafe, and people would come together from all over the world and just sharing their grief together, their anger, their rage, and just kind of help in that process of not being frozen, because that's what happens. It's so much that it's really hard not to be disconnected and to be numb, because we're all in shock. And so that's why it's important for us to be with each other and to acknowledge that numbness is just as much a part of grief as all the other parts, right? Denial, all of this negotiation, the rage, all of these states that we enter into when in grief, how human they are. So being able to come into that space and to say like, I'm angry today, or I don't feel anything today, or to hear each other, you know, pulling us back in from that shock of wanting to leave our own bodies in order um, to not be destroyed. You know, the system is trying to keep us safe, to come back into our humanity again and again, and remember, like, you know, we are feeling because we are human. We are angry, and we are, you know, distraught because we are human, and we're still connected to our humanity. And even if nothing else, even if we can't change a thing, we can still hold on to our humanity. And that's something that nobody can take away from us. That is literally like, we can keep our agency in this way, no matter what happens, no matter if, the list goes on, right? We can do the work. And so for me, it became important that my path as a coach and as a healer, um, it needed to go through its own dying and rebirth. And so, um, coming out the other side, recognizing that we need each other. We have to hold each other's hands through this. None of us, not one of us, is meant to do this alone or carry everything. We cannot, but together, there are many of us, and we can start to create, um, imagine, right, something different. Um, we are, I am lucky enough that, fortunate enough that bombs are not falling on my house, that I don't have, people breaking down my doors and taking over my house, that my child and I can walk in safety relatively, like, down the street. And so that privilege allows me a chance to think about how to imagine and build and strengthen my community and myself, so that way we can have that sustainability, and create pockets, as things just continue to go down whatever path they're going to go down.
That you're so juicy. You're so juicy, and it's leaking out of my face. Miles and miles away, you are so juicy. You're so juicy. Um. Oh. Ah. What is the role of the artist in a moment like this? Holding everything that you just shared, holding all of the grief, holding all of the death and dying and decay, both inside of ourselves and also reflecting it out in the world. What do you feel in your opinion, in your sliver of life, in your lens? What is the role of the artist right now?
Yeah.
We do, Tara.
Oh, we match. Oh, yeah, that's right. Look at us. No, this thing I did wrestle with too, and I consider myself almost like a folk artist. I use what I have. I'm untrained, although I have like many years behind me in like working with and, materials and words and trying to sculpt and carving, create expressions of my experience. But it's all, just from my, life experience. But you know, the role of the artist is to imagine, number one. The role of the artist is to capture the hearts of those who who need inspiration, who need connection, who need resonance. And you know, the thing about art is it's like, this one of those things where the sum of, what is it? The sum is greater than all the parts, right? Like, when you put that together, you're able to communicate in ways that are are greater than the sum of the parts. It's profound, right? When we're touched by a piece of art, it can change our life, and that can be a movie, that can be a poem, that can be, a painting, right? It can be a dance. But if we are touched, if it changes us, that there's something about that package of communication that can come in a way to touch parts of ourselves, including our soul, that can make it transformative and life changing, as well as being a vehicle that, reaches larger audiences. Um, it when we're engaging with art, it can often, we can start at a different place. Like, we might have our barriers down. We might not necessarily know what we're looking at before it fully comes in, and that allows for new ideas to enter in places where we might have blocks. Of course, art is also very confronting, right? And that's why we've seen in, fascist states where artists and art and writing gets, um, you know, um, crushed at times, because it is so powerful. And I think it's really important for each one of us to recognize that, we have creative energy inside of us, whether we're baking, or we're taking care of children, or whether we're painting or singing or dancing, whatever it is we might be doing, that we make a difference. We are vehicles of change. We are catalysts. The art is catalyst, and also it's an archive. It's really important that we tell our stories in any way. As brown and black people, it is, and as indigenous people, it is really important that we tell our stories, because the colonists won't, colonialism won't. And as people of the global south, all around the world, it's so important that those things are archived. There's wisdom in your stories. There's wisdom in your experience, no matter where we are, right? And so that also is a form of resistance. So telling your stories through art, through dance, through words, however you can, through recipes, whatever it is, like this is us preserving wisdom that has been carried down from generations. And I think also, like, that connection to our wisdom, the wisdom in our bodies, and the wisdom that is in the land, that's where we're going to find our answers, right? It's going to be in the wisdom of the land. And we are the land. We are basically earth, right? We're earth. We're walking around, we're walking around, and we're able to move around on top of the earth, but we are earth. This is our land. This is part of the land. And so reclaiming that land, by reclaiming our stories, our wisdom, by preserving it, this is part of resistance. So for me, when I think about land back, I think about bodies first. Really looking at how we can free ourselves. Liberation for all, I think, also begins in the body. And the more that we're able to connect to that, the more we're able to start seeing the unnatural structures of colonization in our lives and in our systems, and to be like, wait a minute, this really is not natural and does not work for me. This is destroying the land that my soul is living in and on. This is toxic to my land, right? And so by doing that, we can start to make decisions that are based on different values, because we're reconnected to the land. So I think it's really important for us to reconnect to our bodies in order to be able to be brave, in order to be able to be honest, to be bold, to be intuitive. We cannot do that if we are connected merely to external structure, the external structure of, the buildings, of cars and work and schedules and 9 to 5 and dollar signs and rent money and social media, even internet. Like, all of that is external structures that are supposed to be tools, not our whole life. And so moving back into the body, and really coming to, really allowing that voice to have sovereignty, can help us to be brave and help us to make choices that are, like, sustainable, that are healing, that are for the earth and for our survival. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, uh, I knew this was a great decision. Could you reach into your pocket full of sunshine and pull out some of your children that you brought to share today? That
Yeah.
would honor me greatly.
Ooh, I have two that kind of go with that theme. Um, a lot of my work does revolve around connect about does involve identity and home, and where is home, and the body, and that relationship to that. So actually, this one is in front of me, so I'll do this one. And it's actually springboarded off of Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman speech. I was lucky to be in a workshop, and we started from there. And this is what came out. And this is called Sanctuary. Tell me, am I not human? Am I not worthy to take shape and form? See these bones? Call me a sanctuary. Fuzzy wooden shelters stripped to planks, letting sunlight in. Septillion-watt smiles saved for children. My heart is a telephone booth. My ears, wishing wells, jingling with 2-cent pieces. Am I not a feeling existence? Watery in essence, pipes always leaking, finding the time gaps, the open places. I drip like a Texas air-conditioned watering plants. I didn't say I was pure. Am I not a complex system? Sailor mouth, potty brain, sex trains, pot smoking, mushroom tripping, unshaved mama of the faith, but only in private. This creaky sanctuary is resettling with bigger truths, feeling the caves, the waves of stormwater in the gutters, clogging up the drainage ways. Sometimes I don't function. Waterlogged, I silently fear sinking, infused by grief's circling clay muddy foundation, dissolving back into dirt-infused river, wondering, is the ground clean only once freed from me? But I am wailing woman here, still here, weeping. Am I not worth the space, the shot? I promise you, I see and hear. I resonate to the pain like the string to the war cry of the tuning fork. It's one great fucking hum, and I don't know how to stop it. Washing over me, the sound of thunder echoes in my deepest caverns, stories ricocheting off the walls, calcifying bones. Am I not carrier of universes? I hold this dirt-infused water, dissolved clay fingers touching innocence, pure innocence. Tell me, am I not worthy of my own shape and form? Am I not human?
Whew. I have to step away to close the door and blow my nose because you turned me into a soup sandwich as always. Dear Lord. Woo! Wow. What else you got in your bag?
I just want to say I have a friend who I really love, and the other day they threw me a surprise birthday party,
Happy
and
birthday.
thank you. And she was like, um, basically like, let me talk to you before I smoke because like you get all serious, and I just you need to just have some fun. And I just was like, you know what? I live in the deep. I think I'm always like that's a springboard or a place I start from. So if it's too heavy or
Some of us have fun in the deep. Some of us actually like the deep water. I'm a diver. I've got my oxygen strapped. Like there's so much. Have you ever been snorkeling?
no,
You You must, on your bucket list, if you're not afraid of water, you
love
must
water.
go snorkeling in the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, or however they say it, tomato tomato. Because if you just snorkel, you'll feel safe enough that you can get out of a tricky situation. But if you ever see, yes, oh, I thought that said mini deep. No, Joyce. I'm not sure Joyce wants to go mile deep in the ocean. However, when you see the coral and all of the fish and everything, you'll realize that it's fun and colorful in those deep spaces.
No,
Yeah.
I fish. Like I got the full on like little light here. I'm way down. You can come visit me anytime, but you might need a sub.
The deeper the better. There is joy in the deep.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I do have another one.
Perfect.
And this one is this is definitely on land back, like my body being that land, right? And special thanks to Virginia Grice. There was a workshop we did called This is a Manifesto, and everybody did some sort of manifesto. And so this is mine, and it's called Body Manifesto. My body was born a defenseless child, ignored, labeled, and laughed at, corralled, groomed, and then discarded, forced to eat what it didn't want and recite what it didn't choose to speak, exiled inside a maze of towering, rigid structures erected to dehumanize, bend and shape, separate in place like cogs in a wheel. Its voice was silenced. My body is a refugee with its own unique story. And so, I will take my place at the dinner table, not at the children's table, nor at the dog's bowl. I'll speak this broken language, not my own, loud and bold, not whisper in the corners of the house or under the covers while everyone sleeps, but I will tell its stories at mealtime and in the street. I'll share them like they're 2 small fishes and 5 loaves of bread so that someone else hungry might eat. My body is my motherland, and I will take it back. I've returned from hovering around its perimeter, frostbit and trembly, afraid to feel the ice-pick sensations of thawing heat, afraid to survey the land scorched and broken. I will find places that don't ache or scream of trauma, little patches of green land in my body where there's peace, like in my pinky finger or in the space above my breast. Then I will set a hammock, spike a tent, build a cabin there. In my body, there's a network of caves with pockets of deep, flowing grief stored in my joints, belly, vocal muscles like golden sediment in underground streams. There are masses of moments I've yet to feel fully. And when it is time, I will scream the cry, shake the tremble, pound the anger, and release it back to the earth, freed and transformed. I'm ready. I've forgotten how to live in my body, but the baby remembers. So I will look to the baby. The plants remember. So I will look to Mother Earth. Because no matter how others try to subjugate her, she moves and thrusts and dances and parries like a free woman. And ultimately, she will win. And ultimately, she will heal. My DNA retains ancient memories of how to be human, and so I will reorient, feel my feet on the ground, my toes on the earth. I will learn to dig my toes, my hands, my intentions back into the earth. I will befriend my body with curiosity, listening and learning to trust my impulses and reactions, validating my experiences, because really, there once was a tiger here. It was in my grandmother's eyes and my father's voice and my uncle's laugh and a stranger's hand. And yes, I still startle at the rustle of midnight grass. And yes, a part of me still paces in its cage, but my body is a compass and it will show me the way. So when my body says go, we will go. And I will say no when my body says no. And I will slow down. I will allow my eyes to caress the surfaces of my surroundings and really see it. I will notice my breath and I will remind myself that there is no tiger here, that I am safe in this moment. So I will live in this moment, breathe this moment. This is where I'll place my tent, right here in this moment. I am the home of revolution. And so I will tune deeply into my body right now and declare today that I will love my body. My body is my motherland, and I will take it back. Thank you.
Joyous, what you got coming up next, and where can these lovely folks find you on the interwebs and beyond?
So today I came on my, I have 2 channels and with the little mix up, I went to my coaching channel. I don't know what I'm doing. But so I also have Joyous Windrider. It's the same, but without the last name. I also have a new channel. I'll put it in here. because we're starting well, they told me not to call it a podcast because now it's on the local radio. It's going to be on the local radio. It's a program, or it's a broadcast, and it's called The Resilience Within. And the idea is, what is that medicine that we carry and how do we connect to it? So we ask that question every time, like, what are your questions and what is your current questions, current medicine? And so the idea is to learn from each other. So it's kind of like a co-hosting situation. Every time there's a guest co-host, there's always a centering exercise. And then at any point we can ask each other, like, hey, can we take a breath right now? So we can just like come back to center, because things can go off sometimes when you're like when you're recording or just so that's going on. I'm also I'm coaching. I'm doing private sessions, and then we're doing some stuff where I'm starting to collaborate. So business as usual had to change, and so I'm now connecting with others who are working for the liberation of all, and are doing decolonization work. And so we're starting to do some offerings. So recently we did a grief workshop, and then we did a somatic, moving from the freeze, so that way we can move into response and action around the liberation for all and a free Palestine. And that was really great. People are hungry. And I think that was one of the things I realized when I started going to meet other people who are like-minded, was like, just there was nothing that I was able to find, and recognizing, well, if there's a need, then you probably need to figure out how to help serve that. So people are hungry for spaces where they can grieve. They're hungry for spaces where they can really connect with what's happening in their system, including that numbness, and how do we move out of it. So a lot of the work that I do is through somatic work. So we're connecting to the body, we're paying attention, and then we're learning how to respond and cultivate a sense of safety, so that way we can do what it is that we need to. So I guess, like, follow those pages, and I want to thank you for having me
Oh, I,
on.
I love you. I love you. You're the easiest. You take me over the river and through the woods into a deeper heart space.
I mean, I have to say, like, I love talking to you. That's for sure. But just like, conversations are so powerful. They call it the art of conversation, right? I Conversations make a difference, and I think if you think about it, like, there can be a lot of pain around conversations and trying to communicate. But when the conversation is there, and we're able to speak about things that people can't speak about anywhere else, like, how powerful is that, right? And for me, I feel like that's one of my medicines, is conversation. So that's my new thing, is that I just want to be in conversation, and I want to invite others into that, because that's where, like, things are sparked. That's where things happen. And the bigger that gets, that's where you have renaissance happening. That's where you have revolution happening. That's where you have all kinds of things happening, when it comes, when people start conversating, when they start communicating. And so that feels really powerful for me. So I mean,
Well, will you come back soon and have another conversation with us and bring some fresh art?
absolutely. Next time I'll do it on my other page.
It's so good. It's so good. And y'all can hear the replay of today's session over at lovedandlovable.bio.link. And until next time, stay in your joy, stay in your power, and stay loved and lovable. This is Joyous Windrider Jimenez. Check her out. She's the bee's knees, and we love her so much here in the network and beyond.
And thank you for all you've done. Thank you for all the support you've ever given me. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for that huge throat chakra flow. That's
You got to release it, especially when you got powerful things to say like you. You should never be ashamed.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping me on this journey, because that's been one of my biggest fights. And yesterday I was saying, I'm so mad that it's my fight, but that's what happens sometimes when we have this call, is like, there's the obstacles sometimes. So thank you for being that, like, support for me. I really appreciate it. You are medicine.
You are the freedom, Joyous. I love it. I love it. Talk soon.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.